여기 찾아지면 K2만 K2가 빌कुल K2 last you mean अगर बस taxi station last computer antique songs are जिम्मेदार last करा keep living like we die
The wheat you can also mix with the water, and also you can give dry.
And how much?
Tamji tao. 아주 나스폭 착.
착
머리
착기니.
Don't like a video.
Yeah, so I can remember how it's done.
When you're going downwards, you should not stay on the horse.
So get off the horse.
Get off the horse.
When it's steep, you're saying, or like any downhill?
Any downhill. When it is like when you're crossing Peninsula or something other pass on the way.
Okay.
And you're going downwards, that time you have to get off from the horse and you can just take the
reins
and keep walking.
Okay.
But when you're going upwards and when you're on the flat, you will be on the horse.
You're doing great, buddy.
Let's start with your name and where you're originally from.
All right. My name is David Deaton. I'm originally from North Carolina. We currently live in San Clemente, California.
And where are we right now?
We are on a sailboat in international waters.
Not long after moving here, I had a friend introduce me to David. And he goes, whoa, you should meet this guy I just met. And I meet David, we start talking for a bit, and the next day we end up going hiking in a Joshua Tree and hanging out.
Maxwell and I shared a lot of stories about our past and the things that we've done, and he told me about a trip that he previously tried to go on, wanting to bike the Himalayas in India, which I had never thought of doing something like that.
I wasn't really familiar at all with the concept of bike packing.
But as soon as he started talking about it, it just lit something in me. It was like, this sounds amazing. It sounds like the biggest adventure that you could possibly have.
So Tor and I go back a bunch of years when we were both living downtown Denver. He was a neighbor with one of my good friends, Chad. Started talking to Tor and realized, I think this is someone I'm gonna end up doing life with for maybe the rest of my life. And I never even really thought of the idea of traveling by bike until I met Tor. He spent more time biking through the Indian Himalayas than anyone else on the planet. So I kept hearing these stories over and over and over again and thought, this is a place I need to go. We need to bike the Himalayas.
Often if you go on a trip, you'll travel between A and B and you'll experience A and B. You know, on a bike, everything takes place in between the places. You stop in a place where there is no reason to stop if you're on a car, on a motorbike. But on a bicycle, you have to stop. You need water, you need food, or maybe you ran out of daylight and you have to stop. And that's where you meet the people who invite you into the house, and suddenly you are sitting in a house chatting to strangers, sharing life stories.
Step out of the airport and it's like everything is moving a million miles an hour. You're completely out of your element. And this is a shit show. It's a shit show. It's it's a shit show. I don't know if there are other words to describe the transition between where we are to where we landed.
Set generally in this area for the last 6 hours, hearing a lot of screaming, seeing a lot of buses. Hopefully, if the signs are correct, in about 25 minutes, we'll be leaving for Shimla on anywhere from a 7 to 13-hour bus trip. So only time will tell, but good spirits all around.
So this trip is basically a large circle around northern India. We start in the jungle and move continually upwards for several weeks to reach some of the highest points in India. We go through protected areas along the border of Tibet and all the way along the border of Pakistan. Once the road ends, it would be impossible to bike this route. You're walking on these sides of cliffs where you have about 2 or 3 feet of area to walk along. So that's why we have to get horses and we have to get a guy to guide us the whole way.
This place is pretty sweet. I wouldn't quite give it 5 stars because there was a human turd in the hallway on the way in. Wasn't either of us, thankfully, although that may happen later once we get Delhi Belly. So no judgments here.
All this work that I did. Better than I was originally expecting.
We built our bikes for this Himalayas trip. You can't just take any bike over there. It'll get destroyed, and there's nowhere to get parts. So we built our bikes from the ground up. Started with the frame, 2 bags in the back, 2 in the front, fork, double wall thick rims, large spokes, pedals, gearing it so that we can travel uphill for long periods of time, and granny gears. Because we've got about 120 pounds worth of gear on these bikes, and we're climbing for days at a time at high altitudes. Originally, I was planning on doing this trip in 2013. And at that point in life, the bottom had seemed like it dropped out like a wet paper bag. Nothing was working. My health was jacked up. My career had ended unexpectedly. I had 2 girls, twin girls that were on the way, and they were stillborn. And then not long after that, my wife at the time had completely lost hope in our marriage. And also within like a 1-year period. And later down the road, I find out my best friend who was in my wedding, I find out for some friends he's actually hanging out with my wife at the time, and I was done. Like, fuck this. And I was gonna go on this trip to the Himalayas hoping and actually like praying that I wouldn't come back. It was a dark place, and I was ready to go, bike was ready to go, plans were made, and I was all hinging on a visa. Months have passed, and I haven't heard anything about the visa at all. And I'm calling and getting no reply, and the visa kept getting pushed back and pushed back, to the point where my window had closed. I was no longer able to go on this trip. How you feeling?
Ready to go.
Yeah?
Woke up this morning with a brass band around 5:45. Blaring outside. Today's the day. So, it's about that time.
in your hand?
It's a broken chain. It's Dave Murphy's Law. Derailleur problems. Both derailleurs messing up. Chain breaking. Knee going out. I don't know what else could actually go wrong at this point.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that, yeah.
So, a little discouraging. For the first day at least.
There's your puzzle.
Yes.
62 kilometers you have already done.
What started with a very discouraging chain breaking on my bicycle ended up with the help of a lot of strangers to fix it.
Okay. Good. Say India is great.
Then pump out water to help wash hands, and they've invited us to stay the night. It's amazing, the kindness of the people here.
I might decide to come back around after we finish.
That's what we have.
Are you guys hiring?
Stay here, enjoy.
Tomorrow night, birthday celebration, dancing.
For the birthday dancing.
Oh, there's dancing?
That first day, it set a precedent for kind of how the trip was going to go. The fact that so many little things just went wrong. My derailleur being bent from transporting it on the planes. Thinking, well, I might not even have a derailleur, which means I don't have a bike. And then the chain breaking twice, which doesn't happen. My knee starting to give out. All of this stuff happened in the first day. I felt very defeated, but what it led to was what we would see throughout the entire trip as kind of the theme of none of these plans are gonna work. And it's good that they're not gonna work, because the situations you get in can turn into a dance party with 40 dudes.
India is great!
This is one of the moments in life that I'm going to go back to in my mind so many times and wish I could be right here. It's hard to be able to soak it in. It's beautiful. It's love. There's no words for it.
Your cycle chain was broken in front of our shop, and we helped David to get that repaired.
Yeah.
And we had a nice time, enjoyed a lot. We miss you. Definitely the next time we'll wait for you. Hope you'll come soon.
Thank you.
You know, you roll into a village, people might think, what the hell is this person doing rolling in on a bike? But it pretty much just takes a smile and maybe a handshake, and then people will, it's amazing, they'll invite you into their houses, they'll share their lives with you, they'll tell you the stories that I think everybody who travels just hunger for. It's like you want to get close, and the bicycle just unlocks all of that.
Was in a band, toured around a lot, all through the 20s. My 20s, not the 20s. It's a long time ago. Time travel. So the band broke up. It was pretty unexpected. Pretty much all of my identity was being the bass player in the band. Everything that I held on to that felt solid just seemed like it disappeared overnight. Basically sold everything I had in Nashville, packed up a car, moved into a cabin in the woods that was very remote, wouldn't see people for days, and completely renovated everything in the Airstream, made it livable for two dudes to travel the country. I had a year-long plan to travel around the country, and we were about 6 months into the trip, and we got to California. He decided that he needed to go back. He basically said, we're leaving tomorrow, and there's really no discussion anymore. I only had a couple choices, and when I realized that one of those choices was just stay where we're at, that seemed like the most logical thing to do, and also the most exciting thing to do, because it was California. He left, had no idea what was going on, no idea what I was gonna do. Was talking to a guy that I met, telling him a little bit of my story, and he just kind of like made me pause for a minute and say, just 1 second. Walked over, grabbed Maxwell, put us together and said, you two just talk, and walked away. And it was, I don't know, it was weird. We were in a similar place. We wanted to breathe new breath into life and figure out what was next, and we couldn't do that where we were at. And that's how we ended up in California.
Hey Cal, you stoned? Got the munchies? On some Cheetos? Yeah, you do. We've never been able to tell how they've been so calm in the midst of highway traffic, just chilling, sitting there, relaxed. And we've solved this mystery. Cannabis. Ditchweed.
During the training process, my knee started giving me some trouble. Thought it was from a day that I kind of stepped down wrong onto the boat and it tweaked, and there was something different than normal. Every step there was pain. The day after, I woke up and was trying to bike and almost couldn't do it without excruciating pain. We're weeks out from biking in the highest mountains in the world. I kind of pushed it off and said, it's just like a little bit of soreness, it's gonna be fine. But when it lasted, I started getting a little paranoid, and I worked with some physical therapists for probably about 3 weeks leading up to the trip. And nothing was really helping. They thought that there was a possible tear in my meniscus and wanted to do an MRI, but we were, I think, 3 or 4 days away from leaving, which I knew I was gonna go regardless. I just felt like it was better just to not know and just go and not spend the time and the stress on an MRI and a doctor that's saying that I shouldn't go on the trip. We had been planning this trip for a year and a half to get to within 2 or 3 weeks of it and start having physical problems that a doctor tells me to not bike anymore. Like, that's the solution, is to not bike.
We're on the wrong road?
Yeah. The road we want to be on. It's way down there. And then way over there.
Hopefully Tire Guy has good news. Man, that guy, he's the one putting the work in today. He really wants that tire. Way to go, Tire Guy. He needs a minute. Dude just walked a tire up a mountain.
Danger road.
Dangerous.
When you think about the vertical feet you're traveling, you think about the quality of the road.
Did you see that road we just came down the valley? I was like, fuck, man.
You think about the thin air, the lack of oxygen, and the weight on your bike. You know, when you're traveling with a 10 sleeping bag mattress, stove, you have clothes to conditions where it's, you know, freezing at night. You're slowed down a lot. Shouldn't even talk about how long a bike ride in the Himalayas is, because it often makes no sense. We don't have like anything to compare. That's also why you don't want to be looking at your average speed. You don't want to look at the end of the day and think, man, I just spent 8 or 9 hours completely slamming myself in the saddle, and maybe I travel, you know, 30 miles. But when you see that during that time you climbed a 17,500 foot pass on a gravel road, then it suddenly makes sense why you feel pretty tired towards the end of the night at an altitude where there's half the amount of oxygen.
We just went through some pretty rough roads. A lot of this going on. And I happened to break off my handlebar grip on both sides. This side here too broke loose. So looks like I'm going gripless for the rest of the trip. We both started this trip pretty jacked up. I'm always at least out of like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 pain. So I was doing all the stretching, foam roller, kettlebells, everything I could possibly do to make sure that I was in the best possible shape for this trip. But it was always kind of in the back of my mind. And it was similar for David, and that neither of us knew really physically what this trip was gonna be like. David's knee is really acting up. He's told me on a scale of 1 to 10 pain that he's an 8.5, and that he's near the point where he feels like it might rip. And that it gradually keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And we're a long ways from a town. I just feel horrible for the guy. He's worked so hard to get to this point, and his knee's giving out on him. We weren't sure if it'd be holding up at all, and we're already at day 10. I'm really starting to get concerned. I don't really want to tell him though, because that's not going to help at all. It's pretty heavy on him already. So we just hope for the best at this point, and that we can get to this next town. Who knows? It's all part of the adventure, right?
California.
It's chewing on metal. We have pretty safe toys in the U.S. Kids are chewing on metal they found on the ground. Loving it. Can't be best for the teeth, but keeps them busy. Kind of like an iPhone.
As feared, the knee is not doing very well today. Gonna have to get a ride up to Naco to rest for a couple days. Pretty disappointing, pretty discouraging, and kind of sucks to have to part ways for a little bit, but seems like the only logical thing to do, because just creeping along today, it's just severe pain and can barely even go on flat roads. It's just the only choice at this point, and it's unfortunate, but hopefully this will be able to get it rested enough to continue on with the trip.
Here I am on the World's most treacherous road, and this road would have my vote for sure. People in the military would look at me like they'd seen a ghost. It was on a road that people don't like. But that's part of the challenge of seeing how far we can push ourselves and our equipment to explore places that not many people have experienced. Guys. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but you guys are pretty great. Yeah, thumbs up. For days, there's cliff edge on one side, where it's just mountain face, and then the other side drops down to a river, so there's nowhere to camp. And if you're choosing between a hotel and camping is the way I would go, because it's way cleaner. You go to those hotels and you realize, all right, this place hasn't been cleaned in months, years. I don't even know. This is pretty, I mean, it's pretty gnarly. Years of dirt and scum on the side of the pails that you end up showering in. The sheets smell like 4 different types of BO. There's some stains on there. You're wondering, like, wait, how is this even a thing? Oh my God.
You gotta be super careful on these roads. Many of them get more or less destroyed pretty much every winter. So you have road workers up there, and you know the way you often build a road up here is with people sitting with hammers hammering at rock until they're small enough to be put in the road. Big canisters of tar that they stand stirring with sticks. I mean, it's very tough manual labor. Of course, oil gets left behind, oil gets spilled. So once you bicycle in the areas for a while, you start noticing that there are these dark spots, black spots on the road where oil is left behind, and that is just, it's basically like coming on a nice road and suddenly you are on ice. And if you are just leaning a little bit to the side on your bike, the bike is going to disappear under you.
So just took a big spill. The road right here is doused with oil, and as I was on this turn coming down the hill, slipped right here. Bike went sideways, landed on my shoulder and my head. Luckily I was wearing a helmet. It knocked me pretty good. I can't really lift my shoulder or arm right now. A lot of clicking going on and some swelling I feel. Haven't really looked at it, don't want to. But yeah, that's my bike. That's the oil. Max is probably about a couple miles down there and doesn't know.
We just did a long downhill, and I've been waiting here in this spot for about 20 minutes. I haven't seen David at all. I really hope he's all right.
In quite a bit of pain. And yeah, probably gonna have to find a ride down the road and find a hospital.
All right, just climbed around the second bend. Still nothing. Starting to get a little worried. The fact that he can't ride downhill is concerning. Even if it's like a twisted ankle, a little scrape, at least you can ride downhill.
A truck with a red cross on it was just coming up the hill, and I assumed someone got in touch with someone. And I waved them down, and they just waved at me and kept going. But I thought that was so confusing. And it hurt so much. Max stopped. That's gotta be so painful. This is not fun.
I don't know what the hell to do now. It's the biggest freaking climb of the trip. I'm gonna be pissed if he passed me and I didn't see him. He just flew by. Then again, like, did he get in an accident? Did they get taken to a hospital? I don't know. This is like the worst possible place to have to do this. God, this sucks.
It's been a little over an hour, and 3 cars have passed, all going the opposite way. And just looked out, and I see Max climbing the descent that he just had fun on, and he's gonna kill me. I think that's actually the reason that he's coming up. Thought I heard a car. I'm hearing things. I'm getting delusional. I bet Max is down there doing a little debrief video too.
There's a lot of freaking climbing.
Too bad we can't FaceTime and just debrief each other. He has to kind of just guess. Best case scenario, I lost one of my bags and it went down the hill and I had to climb down and get it. Worst case scenario, me and my bike went down the hill and he'd have to come up and climb down and get me. So we landed kind of in the middle of the road, literally. And actually, I guess it was on the side, close to a cliff.
I just had a motorcycle crew stop by and say, that David he's up top, he's still coming down, but he slipped and hurt his shoulder. Like, I'm so happy. He doesn't have to go to the emergency room, at least at this point. I'm hoping the best for that shoulder. There's no medical care for very, very, very long ways. And that combined with his knee, it's gonna be tough to bike. But I'm so thankful. It's not like a catastrophic sort of injury. Like, I was terrified I'd see blood on the pavement coming up. But we'll see how bad it is in a minute here.
Sorry, dude.
So you went down, huh?
Max just got up here. It's good to have him here, that's for sure. And now we're gonna figure out what to do next. So there was one person that stopped about an hour ago. It was a truck and they said, yeah, we'll take you. And it was an oil truck.
The same sort of oil truck that we saw earlier spilling oil all over the road, which inevitably I went down on. Been up there for I think 5 or 6 hours, and it was the only option really to get the bike and all of the stuff to where we needed to be in order to figure out some medical attention. But it was really high to get the bike in. They couldn't open the truck bed, and once we actually got up to see what was in it, it was full of oil. In that altitude, your brain is working at like 30%. It's harder to make decisions, and we're trying to decide if it's a good thing to put the bike and all my gear and me into this thing that's basically a truck bed full of oil. And we ended up just having to pass, even though it was the first thing in about 6 hours that seemed like they could help. But it was a bust. It was a big bust.
After David's crash, we realized that these cars, there's not many of them, and the ones we have seen around the area are really small. Too small to fit a bike and a bunch of gear. So we end up stashing behind some rocks in the area. Now that we come back later, pick that up.
I think it works.
And then our main priority was getting David some medical help. Holy smokes. Yeah, I wonder if there's a rock fall and that's why. He had to wait to clear it.
That would happen.
We're walking like we're flying. Keep living like we're dying. It's easier and harder.
And there they go. They all have those flags. Yeah. Thank you. Yep.
Move until you can't no more. Then remember what you're doing it for. And you wake up any minute with a hand on the shore. When the mountains wash away, let the water take the place where the roots were taking over.
I start biking back towards Nako. And on the way, I'm thinking, yes, finally, after some hours, he's going to be able to get some medical care. And I'm biking down the road, and then all of a sudden I see David standing next to an abandoned bus, thinking, I'm not sure things get any worse at this point.
I got a ride. And then we got about 5 minutes down the road and he pulled over and I needed to get out because I think the people he was with were going the other way. I don't know, but went through the first aid kit.
Some of the gravel out of there.
Yeah, probably some oil in there too. Found some aspirin. Beside the first aid kit was even better first aid, and that's the whiskey. So 5.5 hours in, this is what it comes to.
Feel better?
Let's bike.
Finally got a ride from some very helpful people that are on vacation. Two of them got out of the car and waited up the hill so that they could take me back down. Max and I are now figuring out how to stay in contact.
If we lose communication, we may never find each other again until we just show up at the airport on our departure date. One of the guys that helped us out had a cell phone and I got the number. Basically, we decided that no news is good news. So if I don't contact you, expect me back here tomorrow.
Are you going both now?
No.
Both are going?
No, just me.
It's all dusted out for
You're
you.
off to death from earlier, probably. You know?
Yeah. Where else does that happen?
Yeah. Are you feeling something difficulty in breathing?
No.
No?
Good to go. I'm good. I'm good.
Driver wanted to make a pit stop to get some dinner. Pretty sure he just bought some weed as well. Two-stop shop here in Spilo, where we were 2 days ago.
As feared,
We have another patient apparently, so I got moved to the back here. Not a lot of seatbelts or anything back here, just kind of one big open area on probably the worst roads I've ever ridden on before.
It's August 22nd, around 8 o'clock a.m., the day after David's accident. Dave was originally going to take an ambulance from here, Nako, to Poo, which is about 30 kilometers down the road. Because we're told that they had an x-ray machine, good doctors, a medium-sized hospital. But when the ambulance arrived, they said, no, Poo doesn't have an x-ray machine at all.
so we had to go about 2.5 hours to the nearest place that had a doctor that could check me out. It was around 1 o'clock in the morning and they let me out, barely any lights on. You can't hear anything, there's no one around. You're just in this kind of creepy hallway where, okay, now what? I'm walking around this hospital with no one around. It's the beginning scene of every horror film that I've ever seen. Finally, I find a guy who asks me, in a way, like, what are you doing, or what do you want, or something. He's got this big cane, and he's just like walking through the hall like he's a, I don't know, like a guardian of the place, but definitely not a doctor. Just tells me to follow him with hand motions. We go into this little room. After about an hour of them saying a lot of things, I'm not actually sure of what it was. They tell me, you have a broken collarbone. Then they said, but we can't do anything about it. Which, that's the only reason I was there. They told me that I need to catch a bus in the morning to go even further south. So they put me in a room where there's like flickering lights and everyone in the beds look like they're on the verge of death. Like the guy beside me was like bleeding. Like there was blood all over his clothes. They just said you can rest here, and then in the morning at like 5 a.m. you need to catch a bus. Didn't sleep, but I laid there. Just like all the questions that are running through your head of what did this trip just turn into?
It's amazing how a night's sleep can really recalibrate everything. The challenge of biking at these altitudes with bikes weighed down to over 125 pounds for months at a time. The mental exhaustion as well as the physical exhaustion is difficult to explain. Kind of puts you in a weird fog where your decision making is difficult because your body's worked so hard and used all of its energy and its brain power just to make it around that next bend, to make it over that next mountain pass. Looking back, I don't know, yesterday maybe I should have ridden with him in the ambulance and found a place to stash all of our stuff behind some rocks. Or I'm not sure, but we both agreed that the best thing would be for me to stay in Neko so that he can get fixed up, come back here, and we'd have a meeting place.
Now I'm headed to Rampur Hospital. That's another 3.5 hours. They should be able to fix me up there and then try to find a bus 7 hours back.
Initial scene is a group of people kind of piled up. You don't wait in line, you just get to the front of the line however you can. After watching it for a few minutes, I decided that the best thing was to get against the wall so the collarbone was on the wall side so there's no one pushing against me. So this door cracks and everyone's just reaching their papers out and hoping that they get picked. I mean, I kept hearing these names that sounded like it could be David, like the way they might have been reading David. And so I would ask someone like, "Do you say David?" And, you know, this guy that had just been in like a rock fall and had plenty of broken bones is like, I don't know. Finally, they distinctively said something that sounded very similar to David. His advice was, you need to see an expert. And I looked at him and said, expert? And he just laughed. And told me to basically go back to America where they can treat me.
I think it's chai recipes.
The secret to chai.
Yeah, we have found them. Discovered.
Not as exciting. What'd you think?
Pretty magnificent.
Where are we?
Denkar Monastery.
So I'm biking. He's not biking, but we're both gonna continue on and the Indian Himalayas and figure it out as we go.
I like you're looking at it.
And I feel like that's really what goes back to the initial reason that I thought it'd be cool to have David join me on this trip, because in India, you need to be able to roll with it. Otherwise, India will destroy you.
So true.
We've arrived to beautiful Batal. We're thinking about grabbing the 7 o'clock movie. But before that, let me show you our presidential suite. It sleeps 4, so we may have a couple guests joining us a bit later. 100 rupees a piece, less than $2 for this gym. Hello. Heading up to Grand Poo today. The description of the road says, so bad that even goats avoid walking on it. And it rained all night. Definitely a cool breeze, but bringing out the big guns. Bye bye.
ये नाला देख लो ना, चल जाती है तो चल जाना फिर।
I'm on my way to Grand Poo on one of the most notorious roads in all the Himalayas. It's known for its ruggedness and difficulty. One description said it's one of the top 10 worst roads in the world. And not only that, I'm a little nervous because if I get injured, I'm out here by myself. It's just me and the rocks. These roads are bumpy as hell. My rack fell back off my bike for the second time, so I jimmy rigged with some rope. Super sketch back there, wading through knee-deep water. God, my toes are numb. I gotta get inside soon. It's freezing out here. I really hope Grand Prix is coming up close. This is getting dangerous. At the border crossing there, the guy said there's a room right across the street I could do for 200 rupees. And I put my sleeping bag on top of the beds and 2 of these massive blankets along with it. And it took hours for me to get feeling back into my body and back into my feet. Even today, they're still a little numb. I think I did some damage to my toes, but I'm just glad I still have them. Those river crossings were intense. There are different points where I could feel the ground under me moving, with my bicycle wanting to go horizontal over the edge. And all I could do is just hold on for my life, hoping the whole thing didn't slide. I had to do jumping jacks to ward off the hypothermia. And today, so thankful that the sun is out.
It's been about a week since the collarbone's been broken. This brace has been extremely uncomfortable. Not a lot of sleep, decent amount of pain. And my arm is very swollen. Actually looks a little better today, but it's still, you can tell there's a lot of fluid in it, which I'm a little concerned about. I don't know if that's normal. A lot of this back here is numb. We just loosened the brace a little bit to see if that helps, but I think I'm gonna go to the doctor again tomorrow in Kaza, if there is a doctor, and if they can understand what I'm saying, to see if everything's all right. Don't want to have any long-term damage. That's where we're at with the old collarbone injury. Also, the camera that we're filming the documentary with is broken, so now we're continuing filming a documentary with iPhones and hoping to get sponsored by Apple. India!
India! It wouldn't be India without all this fun.
It wouldn't.
Here are the professional cyclists I passed. That's our support team. An RV, 2 vehicles, 2 extra bikes. It looks like a team of 7 to 8 people. And I passed them. Feels kind of good. Ooh, not much oxygen. But I passed the pros, feeling pretty good. Feeling strong. Lungs could definitely use some more oxygen. They're asking for more, but sorry lungs, this is all you get. Can you tell me a good place to get a chai?
150 miles that way.
Yeah?
I know the spot.
All right. solved the Rubik's Cube before?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah? Very tricky. Although, if you hold your tongue like that long enough, I think you'll be able to solve it.
Not good, not good.
So today I bike over Taglang La, which weighs in at 17,585 feet, which means today there's going to be a lot of pain kick.
The climb up to Taglang La it's a special thing on this journey. It's also the highest pass. It's not that the hardest part of the journey is behind you, but it is kind of a high point, and you have that thing that Leh is waiting. You're finishing one of the major routes, basically, in the Himalayas. I mean, I love all of India now, but the first encounter was just too crazy. It was in the mountains that I fell in love with India.
Max would leave on his bike, and then I would spend the next hour or two trying to find a ride for free, walking around just asking people, standing on the side of the road waiting for cars to pass. And then if it got to the point where it didn't look like I was going to get a ride, I would take the bus system. The bus system in India is one of the most intense and crazy puzzles I've ever tried to solve. Once I finally figured out where a bus would be coming, when a bus would be coming, the tricky part was having only one arm and not my dominant arm, and I was carrying a backpack and a duffel bag. The way the bus system works is if you see a bus, you stick out your hand and the bus will stop long enough for you to get one foot on. So with only one arm and two bags, I kind of had to start a system where when the bus started getting close, I would get ready and then throw my bags into the bus and then just grab on with one arm as it takes off, because it never stops completely. So you're there just holding on to whatever you can and just swinging around. You usually have people that are pushing up against you or even sitting on your lap, or sometimes like leaning up against my shoulder, and I could just feel the bones just...
Got about a total of maybe a cumulative 10 minutes sleep last night due to the cold and lack of oxygen at 15,000 feet. You wake up feeling like you're suffocating. Like, You've been acclimatizing for a month now and still not able to sleep. But kind of keep pushing on. Pretty excited about the big day today. Been looking forward to this climb for years. You know, check it off the list. It's pretty awesome up here. David showed up. We were able to get a picture together. Totally random hitchhiking up here. The timing worked out perfect.
Just passed over Taglang La and got to see Max at the top.
And it's snowing.
Yeah. Congratulate him. It was a little disappointing to have to do it in a van and not be able to feel that feeling of kind of reaching one of the meccas of bicycling. But I'll be back and I will reach that peak. But for now, we'll wait for Max and Leh whenever I get there. Have a little birthday celebration.
Yesterday was a big day biking over the Taglang La Pass, and I biked an additional 25 kilometers than I was planning. So today, I'd be in a position to finish the day in Leh, because Leh is the biggest city in the area and has a lot of amenities like hot water, espresso, French pastries I've been hearing so much about. So I can't wait to party in Leh with some pastry. After weeks of lentils and rice, we've moved on to Leh, where there's a lot of other options, including delicious pizza, hot shower, pizza, whiskey. Oh my God, I don't even know what's happening right now. I can't even contain myself. All right, I'm done. I gotta eat.
I turned 32 today, and my birthday wish started as trying to find a recumbent bicycle, which is one that you sit back on and pedal while you're almost laying down, that I could probably do with one arm to finish the trip.
There is no cycle, only bike.
Only bike? Motorbike?
Motorbike.
Okay. There's any possible way that you know of anything like that?
Impossible?
Impossible. Only this possible.
Not possible.
You lay back and you can use one arm?
No.
Nowhere?
I think that goal and birthday wish just turned into trying to find a horse to either purchase or rent in order to finish the bicycle trip on a horse. So let's see what happens.
We're gonna buy a horse.
We're gonna buy a horse. Yep, I'm into it. Let's do it.
Here we go.
Let's find it.
I was thinking about maybe a horse. Is there any place that sells horses? Not here.
So I've never actually ridden a horse. I've ridden a camel and an elephant, but never a horse. So the variables here are, how do you feed a horse if I were to take one for a month trip? What if the horse breaks down? I don't know anything about horse maintenance. Yeah, what do they eat and how do you like find the food for it? Other than that though, there's not many variables.
There can't be that much to owning a horse.
Just finding a place to buy one. I think that's our next question to ask all of these trekking companies.
All right, there's one over here. Behind you?
Yeah.
Maybe they know.
They're gonna know.
Any chance that there's like horses to rent anywhere?
Which place? It depends on the places.
Well, we're going from here to Cargill. Cargill down to the No.
Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you.
It's impossible to find a recumbent bicycle in India. So Max and I are gonna part ways. I'm gonna jump ahead 3 days to Kargil, right on the border of Pakistan, expend all my energy looking for a horse to buy.
So before you go into this area, you kind of need to know what you're doing. Some places, you know, you can just show up and start riding your bike and everything will be peachy. Gets a little bit more dodgy when you get up to the Pakistani border because that's, I think, the biggest military presence in the world up there. Last time I was up there, I think it was 800,000 Indian soldiers, and I don't know how many 100,000s on the Pakistani side. Then you kind of have to keep tabs on what's going on. Kargil is often considered the closest that the world has been to nuclear war since the bombs in Hiroshima back in, I think it was 99. It is an area where you need to know what you're doing.
I'm in Kashmir, on my way to Kargil. Should be there tomorrow afternoon. A couple moments ago, a man with a turban and a very large beard was passing me in his truck and slammed on his brakes so hard the car behind him almost rear-ended him. And he yells out the door, "Where are you from?" I say, "USA." He goes, "Where are you from?" I said, "USA." And asked, "Are you going to Kargil?" I said, "Yeah, going to Kargil." And he sped away. And I'm sure it's fine. He was just curious where I was going. But I think from here on out, I'm Canadian. Because no one hates the Canadians. Things like that, should probably pay attention to and switch my citizenship temporarily. Thank you, Canada. I appreciate it. Oh man, what a wild ride. Love Whistler. I love Canadian bacon, maple syrup, love hockey. I love those tiny little Canadian bowling balls. Where are you from? Canada. I'm from Canada.
With my friend Shaki here. Hello. He's got a lead on some horsemen that might have a horse to purchase. So we're gonna go check them out and see what we find. Maybe today is the day. Fingers crossed.
He's gonna ride this very long journey. Seems like very nice, and he looks like a superhero. Look, wonderful, very nice.
Deli Belly finally caught up with me last night. I could describe the evening in one word, and that's explosive. Oh, I was puking so violently at one point I feel like I broke a rib. It's still pretty tender and hurts to breathe. So I found a chemist this morning, and they didn't speak any English, but I used what I believed to be the international sign for puking, as well as diarrhea. Oh, God. And she slipped me some pills, really helping they work. Last night, David somehow found me. He's shown my picture around town. It seemed like a dream because I was pretty sick. But we made plans to meet at 10 o'clock. Feeling very weak and dehydrated, but super excited to meet Bicycle. It's so crazy. I can't believe it actually happened and that he got it here. Looking forward to hearing the story and hopefully not puking anymore because it hurts. Bicycle? Meet Bicycle. Bicycle's pumped. He's hungry.
It's a little overwhelming having a horse, but I've figured out how to put everything on so far, and now I've just got to take him out of town.
Have you had a chance to ride him much?
No.
No?
No, I rode him once, and then learned how to kind of put everything on.
Like that one. Okay.
Keep it balanced, feeding, all that stuff, and now it's the moment of truth. All right, be still, okay? You ready?
Yeah! Like a champ.
All right. Cow. Cow.
I know you can give him a little jab with your heels, but usually they're further back.
Yeah. They said that you have like a stick too. Kind of
Okay.
do a little bit.
Yeah, on the back.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find a twig.
Yeah. You're doing great, buddy.
Good food night tonight. We're having noodles mixed with potatoes, some locally sourced eggs. Pretty excited about what we're having this evening after a long day out and about. Second day on the trail with Bicycle, and he's becoming one of the guys.
Do you remember the last time you pooped your pants? I do. It was this morning. It just makes you feel completely exhausted and incapacitated, which are two hard things to deal with in a remote part of a third world country when you have a horse to deal with. Luckily, I was able to find this guest house pretty quickly that would take me and the horse. There's no power, but that's fine because there's also no light bulbs in the sockets. But I need to sleep anyway, so rehydrate, wake up tomorrow, hopefully feeling half human, and meet up with Max and finish the route. But Delhi belly, it's not something you want to deal with. Ever.
With the amount of distance me and Bicycle were making every day, there was no way for us to get to Padum by the time we needed to be there in order to take the trek out. There was a family that found us in the woods, invited us in to have tea and bread. Seemed like they were trying to help out, but there was so much that was lost in translation that I don't think they actually knew what I needed.
Went to meet up with Saeed, who was gonna help me set up a truck to take me and Bicycle to meet back up with Max.
Back to home 4 p.m.
4 p.m.?
Huh?
Okay.
But apparently there was a little bit of miscommunication and there's no truck. So walked around town looking for one that would be willing to take us, and no luck there either. So supposed to be meeting up with Max tonight in Faye, and I'm not sure if that's gonna happen. Might try to sell Bicycle because we have to leave from Padum in a couple days, and it's impossible to get there without a truck in time, so might be a short-lived dream come true.
Buddy, I'm taking you to a new home today. I think you'll like it. Big open meadows, nice people. Sorry we have to part ways, but it's just the only option. And I think you'll be happy here.
I went to the family who had showed so much generosity. I wanted to give Bicycle to them, and so I went back and tried to explain that I was gifting it to them. I think they thought that I wanted them to just watch the horse, and so they wanted money to basically babysit. And I kept trying to say, no, this is like for free, like you keep horse, me go. It wasn't coming through. So eventually I found my survival Hindi book and I found the word for gift. And I pointed to the word and said gift and handed the reins to the husband. He kind of just looked confused and she said, no money, no money? I eventually said 100 rupees. They said goodbye to Bicycle. I think he even got a little jealous when I was playing with some of the kids, and I think he kind of knew I was leaving. The wife came out of the house and she gave me a 100 rupee bill and said, gift.
The road dead ends in this area, and you kind of have to understand the distance you've traveled to get there by bike. You've been going at that time for several weeks to get there. You climbed 8 major Himalayan mountain passes. You finish up with a 150-mile gravel road that dead ends in a valley deep, deep, deep in the Himalayas. You don't get much further away from everything in the Indian Himalayas than Padum. I know the Dalai Lama said a few years ago that Sanskar is vital to the survival of Tibetan Buddhism because there are no roads cutting through this area. So that means you don't have really the influence of travelers coming through. Very few people go there because it's the end of the road. You experience a culture there that's very hard to find very many places. And of course the best way to see that is going into the houses.
Right here we have the secret to the local Himalayan moonshine. It's called pup. And what happens is you first boil the wheat like we have right here, and then you add the pup to it and let it go for about 36 hours in the shade. And after that, that's when you can begin to make it into the White Lightning. They have a pot still where they use 3 different pots, and where a smaller pot fits in a larger pot, and then another one sits on top, and the condensation drops into the smaller pot, and that's what actually makes the moonshine. Pup. This is the secret ingredient right here. After spending any time in India at all, you become very familiar with the squatty potty. It's a great workout for the glutes and the thighs. And the locals are very resourceful. They actually recollect the waste after drying it out, use it to heat with and cook with in the winter, which ends up right here. So maybe 1 to 2 weeks time, I hope to be up here with everyone else. So I'm leaving our Padoom family, who've been absolutely amazing. I end up meeting them because Rigson, he's at one of the checkpoints. We stop in and write your passport number down so I can log the people that have passed through.
How long have you been with the police? 17 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Tea turned into lunch, which turned into us spending a week living at Rigson's place in Padoom. Every evening, they'd offer us the Himalayan moonshine, feed us, and wouldn't let us pay them. The amount of tea we've consumed in the last week blows my mind. Gallons of yak buttermilk tea and chai. Anytime it was just even like 3/4 full, she'd jump on that thing and fill it on up. I'm still processing how well that family loved us, and super thankful.
Welcome, man. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, thank you so much. Julie.
Chile.
Drinking chai. You want one? Sure. He's making you one.
So, not great news. Our buddy walked around, he's got family there, talked to everyone with horses, and we went back to a few places too, and he was like, let's talk to him again, let's see what we could do. Seems like the trek is out, which is very disappointing.
The first time I bicycled to Zanskar, I couldn't get over the pass, walk out of Zanskar. Padoom and back out of the mountains is a horrendous journey. Don't expect, to lean back and put in your earphones and just enjoy the beautiful sceneries. Bus traveling can be quite hard in India, to be honest.
Here in Padoom, been a lot of ups and downs with trying to figure out all this horse stuff for the trek. Seemed like it was impossible. We have one last lead that we're meeting here, and it will determine whether or not the trek happens. So fingers crossed, we're hoping to be able to trek for 5 days instead of ride in taxis and buses
backtracking everything we've done for the past couple weeks. Definitely a long process, but this could be it.
After 2 weeks of trying to get these horsemen, we thought for sure it was not going to work after David went with Rigson to each share. He had a bunch of family there, but wasn't able to line anything up. But then in town here, spoke to another guy that made it happen.
We could find it anywhere we go. If we move a little slower and we let it get close, we're walking like we're flying, keep living like we're dying.
We gotta take all our stuff across that bridge. We haven't seen it up close yet, but apparently it's 3 wires with some twigs and branches.
Higher than you've been before, move until you can't no more. Then remember what you're doing it for, and you wake up any minute with a hand on the shore. When the mountains wash away, let the water take place.
It's not dangerous at all.
Cycle going,
Cycle going, yes.
Days when everything disappears at the end of the road.
Let's leave and walk for 4 or 5 hours to the first town and camp for the night and see what happens on this epic 4-day adventure. It's working out.
Covered in scars, whoever you've been, wherever you are, there's a path that hides in the dark, where everything disappears at the end of the road. Go farther, keep breathing underwater, floating till the waters rise, fighting all through the night with the reasons that I can't let go, and feelings that the ceiling of my heart can't
Made it.
hold. Gets easier and harder.
We laid down to sleep, then realized we're actually, neither of us are going to sleep at all. Between the lack of oxygen, laying around, and just general uncomfortability. Neither of us have sleeping pads. We're just kind of, you just wait for morning to come. We were like, well, let's get some shit done. And we got more queso.
Midnight rummy snacks.
Oh, snacks and rummy. On our way to 5,000. Yeah. Way more. It's way more better than just laying around, both of us wide awake, not being able to breathe on some hard ass ground with some rock in our back. Queso and rummy, way better.
So we've got a blister problem today. It's gonna need surgery. We've got 2 more days of the trek, and these aren't gonna fit my shoes.
That's like a blister within a blister.
Yeah.
That's not good.
It's gonna be hard to walk on.
What's the other one look like?
Not great.
Oh my gosh. cleaned up. Gotta make sure you get your fingernails, get all that out of there. I'm essentially scrubbing off about 2 months worth of dirt. Then it's on to scalpel. Nice and red, so that the incision is clean. Get that baby nice and red. Red hot. Oh. Oh.
Stings. So now we just see how they feel tomorrow and hike up regardless. I've never seen blisters like that, so I was definitely hoping and thinking that they were going to be a little smaller. They were big and painful.
Finally noticed I wasn't in control. I started pacing around and wondering where the voice was coming from, because what it said wasn't something that I believed. It's just the devil's dictation.
So this is a tea house. We're planning on having lunch yesterday, followed by dinner, and then breakfast this morning. Turns out it's closed for the season, which means we're about to climb the 16,000 foot peak on empty stomachs. His original understanding was that the tea house would be open there at the base of the biggest pass of the trip. Turns out it wasn't. I was digging through my stuff thinking like, oh man, this is actually like, this is bad. And I stumbled upon a bag of Maggie's noodles, which is essentially a package of ramen, which meant we were cooking a pack of ramen between 3 dudes on a pile of shit before the biggest climb of my life. It was a bit rough. And not only that, but my back was pretty jacked up at that point of the trip. It was about a 9 out of 10 pain. I'd only felt that amount of pain one other time in life, and that's when I had kidney stones, laying on the ground in the fetal position, crying from pain. David's knee was acting up. He had a broken collarbone.
You kind of get in this rhythm of just accepting the physical battle that you're constantly having. We took completely separate routes mentally and physically to get to where we were, but we had reached this point where we could finally do the same thing together like we had originally planned the trip. There was still this part of my body that was like, we're about to climb how high on no food?
India is beginning to take its toll. India is beginning to take its toll. My back is pretty wrecked right now, and I'm not really sure what that means for the rest of the trip. I'm not even sure if my bike is usable with all the wrenching and being dropped on the derailleur. Right now it's kind of dependent on what kind of shape my bike's in and what my back will allow. Just trying to make it to the top of the pass right now. That's the main focus. And here we go. Morale was low, without any food, in about a 30-hour period, climbing this big-ass mountain. And it got to that point where you're like Netflix sounds pretty great. Why do we do this? Why do we do this thing? There's so much easier ways to do life, like any other way. Any other way than this would be so much easier and maybe even more enjoyable. Why are we doing this? And I'm still not sure I have an answer for that. But we carried on. I feel like that's just kind of what it comes down to. You get dealt all these challenges, curveballs, in life in general. And you can choose to become a victim and just say, hey, this sucks, and go inward and live a very small life. But there's also an option to continue on and see what's on the other side of that. And the cool thing is, each time that happens, it changes your baseline for life. We're in Shimla. It's the last night that David and I will be together, and I just decided I'm going to make this thing disappear.
You ready?
I don't know, man. I haven't seen my chin for years, and I'm actually I'm a little nervous. I don't know why, but I am. Yeah, all of it off. Gone. I can't believe this is really happening. Yeah, that's good. Looks like a marshmallow just blew up in my face. There it goes. Still have cheekbones.
I've never seen this part yet.
Oh. Oh. Good to go. Ah. There it is. The chin. It's about 3:30 a.m. in Shimla, India, and we've finally reached 5,000 points in Rummy. It's 4,755 points, bad guys. 5,020 points, good guys. What does that mean, David? What does that mean?
My interpretation of the night is Max shaved his beard off in order to distract me so that he could win Rummy. But at the end of the day, it means he wins. And it means that I am the one that gets a tattoo.
Of?
A unicorn of hearts with some other details.
It's time. Long time coming.
Time for what?
And then I used a tattoo because of a rummy game.
Well, usually 2 weeks before breaking my collarbone.
Best massage you've ever had.
First one?
First
one?
Yeah. Feels good.
So many points.
Yes. The first time I planned on going on this trip, it was after it felt like everything I'd known and loved had either died or moved on. So this trip was really something used for death, because all I could really think about was being with my twin girls. But years later, it took on this whole new meaning that I no longer wanted to be stuck in the past, because I wanted to begin to live towards the future. And to do that, I need something equally impactful to happen. Really this line in the sand that I was no longer going to be living in the past, but rather to begin living towards the future. And after returning from this trip and eating nonstop for about 2 months, I was no longer malnourished. I began to become cautiously optimistic about the future because of the people we met along the way.
Leading up to this trip, I felt let down by people. There were things that just fell apart with the band and the road trip. I started to lose faith in relationships and other people. On this trip, in an unlikely place, I found that strength and hope in other people, the thing that I was starting to lose. And that was with the Indian people, who are the hero of the story. They opened up their homes, they fed us, they gave us everything they had, and they did it willingly and joyfully. Through that, started to restore the hope that I was losing in a huge way. And I think I've got more hope now in people than I ever have before.